What's up, everybody? It's Jen Bengal here from Out of This World Literacy, and in today's quick video, I'm going to talk all about dictation sentences. These are so powerful and especially great to use at the beginning of the year and throughout the year with your older readers who are struggling. It's a great way for you to see, are they able to take the skills you just taught and apply them into a written form? What's their writing stamina like? What's their handwriting look like? Can they capitalize? Can they punctuate? So dictation sentences are a great way to assess those older readers without putting too much pressure on them. I've got some great ideas on how to administer them, why we use them, the characteristics of dictation sentences, and just a ton of information. Also, how you can quote unquote grade them. So take a peek at all this information and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks. The third type of phonics assessment, which is super powerful, is dictation sentences. These are going to help you assess foundational skills. So when you're using dictation sentences, you're testing their phonemic awareness, their phonics knowledge, you're testing their spelling, grammar, punctuation, and their writing stamina as well. It's a great way to test out how your students are as writers without having them use like ideas to come up with their own writing. It really gives a clear picture on how well your students can actually apply a skill after you just did it in a reading lesson as well. It really will help you identify gaps and misconceptions in what the students know and do not know. So you're going to get to see what are their common spelling errors that they're making when they're writing these sentences after you read them to them. You're gonna get to see how they hear and then reproduce the sounds into words. And how do they use punctuation? Are they using it correctly? Are they using capitalization correctly? A lot of times, kids this age, they don't because they're just, they're used to social media and texting, so they don't really understand a lot of the capitalization and punctuation. Dictation sentences are gonna help you see that. Again, they're great to use all the time. After you teach a phonics skill, you can see how does the student apply that skill into a dictation sentence. It's a really powerful way to not only notice that, but to reinforce that skill in a sentence. And also dictation sentences, they involve a lot of different things. So they have to listen to what you're saying, they have to process, and they have to write it down. So this taps into multiple parts of their brain. And it supports memory and understanding, especially for students with dyslexia, English language learners, and other learning differences. Like I said at the beginning of the webinar, I encourage you to take notes because for me, I know it always grounds my learning when I'm writing things down. And it's the same for students. When you're dictating a sentence and they're having to write it, it's really going to ground their learning on those skills that you just finished just teaching. And of course, it's going to help promote those grammar skills like sentence construction and language awareness. So they're going to learn how to write in complete sentences, which I think a lot of kids just really don't do very well. Learning how to write in complete sentences correctly and how to punctuate those sentences. When you use dictation sentences, there's five main goals. So number one, of course, with any assessment, we want to see what the students can do and what they can't do. And we want to be able to provide quick, multifaceted snapshots into their abilities and their foundation. We want to diagnose gaps and pinpoint those areas of weakness. We want to be able to track their progress over time. So monitoring their improvement in targeted areas. You can do that with dictation sentences. You can use their dictation sentences for your ITI team meeting or an IEP meeting when you're progress monitoring. And of course, you're going to use them to guide your small group instruction. And you can use them to help you group your students by need. You can design a mini lesson with them that targets a gap that you notice that they have and any follow-up activities that you want to do. And again, like I mentioned before, it really helps you measure that transfer of learning from something they read, some skill that they're learning into can they now dictate that in a sentence? Are they able to apply it, not just in one isolated skill? So before you begin doing dictation sentences with older students who are struggling, you really want to make sure you set the tone that it's not a test. Again, you want to keep it kind of casual, kind of light. These kids know they're struggling. They know that. So we don't want to give them more pressure. We want to just kind of set the tone that this isn't a test. Have your materials ready. Are you going to use dictation notebooks? That is something. Have you ever thought about a dictation notebook? I don't know if anyone's ever used that, but that's a great way to keep track of the students' skills and their progression over time as well. Or you're going to use loose leaf or pre-lined paper. So have all that ready. and then choose the sentences and make sure that they're aligned to whatever you just worked on. Use age appropriate language. Here we're talking about older kids, right? So you might say, and I have this in my notes for you, so you can certainly reuse this. I'm going to read a few sentences out loud. Your job is to write them down just the way you hear them. Don't worry about being perfect. Again, keep your tone light. Don't worry about being perfect. I just want to see what you hear when I read these sentences. This helps me understand what you already know and what we can work on together. Write down what you hear the best you can. And so, again, this really just sets a tone of like, okay, just do your best. It's okay. And this is how you can scaffold the dictating. So first, of course, you're just going to read the sentence as is. So you'll read the sentence and ask them to write that. Now, again, this is something you can do with your whole class at the beginning of the year. It's a super quick assessment because you don't have to pull kids one at a time. You can have your whole fifth grade class do this, and you'll be able to tell really quickly where those kids are that are struggling phonetically. Can we go to the dog park? So you just read it really, really like slow and casual like that. Repeat the way you state it exactly as it's written. And then after a minute, go ahead and read it in pauses, like in sections. Can we go to the dog park? And do it like that a couple times in sections where you're pausing. And then you may notice that students, several of them are struggling with a word if you're walking around and you're noticing. So you might do it like this. Can we go to the dog park? Let's think about the word park. What sound do you hear at the beginning? And then just give them a reasonable amount of time to go ahead and do that because now you're seeing, can they do it the first time you read it or the second time you read it, or are they more successful with the pausing? And then when you go to this third level, are they still not able to get that word, or have they got it? That means if they've gotten it on this third level, they're not in an automaticity level, but at least they're getting there, right? So we're kind of paying attention to that as well. And then after they've written the sentence, ask the students to reread their own sentence and encourage them to check for, do you have all your letters capitalized that need to be capitalized? How's your spacing between your words? How's your spelling looking? How's your ending punctuation? Do you have the right punctuation at the end? This was a question, right? So you're going to model like how to self-check your own work here. Encourage them to check their sentences. This is in your handout. This is your freebie. All of that casual language I have at the top of this freebie for you. And I did give you 5 sentences that have very specific phonics skills involved in them as well. So this could be a quick place to start at the beginning of the year with all of your students. And you're going to see some kids are going to fly through this. Other kids are going to get it as you go. And there may be some others that are kind of struggling, and you're going to know right off the bat where those kids are at. After the dictation, you can use their writing to inform your small group instruction, of course. Identify any phonics or spelling or grammar patterns that you need to revisit, maybe pull a strategy group and track their growth over time. So with the dictation journals, you can progress monitor. Just get a regular notebook for each kid. You can even do a smaller one or cut your notebooks in half and just have them date it and write the dictation sentences. And you can see over time, not only their spelling and grammar improving, but also their sentence prettiness. What's the word I'm thinking of? Like how well they're writing, their handwriting, their spacing, is that improving as well? You can make your own dictation sentences with any resource that you're using. So after you do your reading assessment or you do your reading lesson, you might combine some of the skills that you use to teach specifically and come up with your own sentences. So after, for example, using this page with a small group, you might have the group do 2 dictation sentences, and you could do one that's a little easier and one that's a little harder and see where they're at. Can they apply, for example, this one is learning that magic E rule. Can they write words with magic E in sentences? I hate when I miss the bus. That one's a little bit easier. I hate when I am late and I miss the bus to school. That one's a little bit trickier. So applying that again, dictation sentences are awesome. I wanted to talk really quickly about grading, and I use the term grading with a quote. Grading them. You want to grade dictation sentences really for growth. You want to just see how they're improving. So you're not grading so much for accuracy, especially early on, and you want to differentiate your expectations based on the student's ability. And you want to consider grading them with your students. And again, by grading, I mean like reviewing them, talking through the mistakes, and using that as a coachable moment. And if grading, be sure this is so important with older kids, and we're going to talk about in next week's webinar so much more about this kind of stuff. But if you're grading them, be sure to separate the score from their identity. So you may say something to them like, this is what the writing shows us about your reading today, not who you are as a reader. And I think the way that we use language as teachers is so absolutely critical, especially for this group of learners. So separating their identity from their grade is very important. There's 5 different ways you can grade dictation sentences, and I'm going to give you some goodies for all of these. So let's talk about rubrics. You can use a simple rubric like this, which I'm including in your free download that I created. So you can give them a 1 if they need support, 2 developing, 3 proficient, and you're just going to assess their spelling and phonics, capitalization, punctuation, complete sentence, and presentation. If there's something specific you want to talk about, you can put that on the bottom where it says top 3 focus areas. So say spelling and phonics, they're constantly getting that magic E wrong. They're leaving the E off, or they're making it where the two vowels are together and they're just not understanding the magic E pattern. You would put that as a skill you want to focus on with them. And then you can use this page that I'm giving you as kind of like an overview of all your students, how they're doing, a progress monitor of their rubric dictation sentences. Rubrics and point-based systems are similar. This one, you just put a score out of 12 on this page based on spelling, capitalization, punctuation, and their handwriting. And again, I'm giving you all of these. So this is a student page that you can use. So this is an error analysis feedback, which is really cool because older kids, they like to hear how they're doing, what they're doing. Let's take the guesswork work out of what we're doing. So rather than assigning a grade, highlight or underline their errors and review them with the student, emphasizing their growth. And this is especially useful with older struggling readers. So they would write the sentence in those lines, and then you could use the code to mark the mistakes in the sentence. So the spelling could be red, capitalization blue, punctuation orange. They could do this on their own after looking at the sentence. So they could analyze the correct sentence with what they wrote and mark their errors and notice their errors, because when we internalize things, we learn them a lot better. So you might just give them the correct version and ask them to compare it. Or maybe they use this with a partner, or you do this together with them. This is a checklist I'm giving you as well. Same idea. They would take the sentence, compare it to the one that's done correctly, and just mark, did I have correct capitalization, correct punctuation? So they would just get to check. And who doesn't love a good checkbox? I know I do. I know kids do too. And then the last part is just that progress monitoring piece. This page I'm giving you again in the freebie. You'll just get to track their scores or their rubrics over time to show progress. And again, really nice to use in an IEP documentation or RTI team meeting. I hope you found this information about dictation sentences super helpful for you and your students. Don't forget to grab the free download for the dictation sentences in the product description that I have listed below. I also have my phonics assessments available for you to get at half off. There's a link for that in the description as well. All you need to do is use the code phonics when you check out, and you can get those for half off too. Thanks, and I hope you enjoyed this video.